Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Sunday evening of November 7th. We're going to take a look at FUBO. Now, FUBO has earnings coming up this week, set to announce Q3 results on November 9th. That is after the market closes, so just keep that in mind. And so I wanted to take a look just at the technicals as we head into the earnings report, just from the perspective of, I guess, a couple of things can happen. If you're in an overall downtrend and you have lackluster earnings, it can definitely accelerate that downtrend or accelerate the chart. Similarly with an uptrend, if you're in generally an uptrend and you have really, really great earnings, that can just sort of throw gas on that fire and accelerate that, upward momentum even quicker. And if you're kind of in the middle, sometimes the technicals will just kind of tend to break the way you would anticipate if earnings are kind of in line with where expectations are. So not getting too deep into the expectations around earnings. There's plenty of things written about that. There's articles out there. There's earnings whispers and stuff like that you can look at. But I just want to look at where the technicals are just to know that earnings could come and sort of accelerate any of this movement depending on what it is, of course. But here's the chart that we've been watching. There was this sort of wedge that started forming around mid-May, and it just played out last week on the daily and had a nice jump out of here and then just very quickly bumped its head on that 35.04 that we had charted. It actually got up to a high of 35.10, so within 6 cents of what we had charted, so pretty solid. But basically that'll be the next big thing in my opinion. Let me leave this here just so that you can see what it is. So this is going to encompass that, but you now see it's topped out here thrice. So 3 times it's topped out at this area, and so I'm going to flip this to red, and to me this is the next most important thing to happen. So whether it needs to come down and sort of put in a retest of support at 3108 or a near retest of support, I could see it happening to bounce right around here actually, and I'll talk about why in a second. I could see it coming down just about here. I'll put this purple. This is because you see this support here from the wick of this candle, and it ties back to the transition from support here to resistance here on these candles, and then also encompasses this flip from resistance to support here as well. So if it doesn't come all the way down to 3108 to retest, I would look for it to bounce right up just shy of where it was at its low on Friday, with around 31.91 down to 31, say 70. Look for it to potentially bounce there, and then what I look for is the next time it comes to test this 3504 range and flip it from resistance to support, I would look for it to really kind of make a strong move in that direction. Of course, it has to come back there first to retest it, but often what I anticipate when things like this happen, and just keep in mind this is in speculation territory. These are theories of things. I don't know if it'll play out this way, but when you've had once, twice, 3 times that it's rejected there, but it's otherwise holding up in the trend, which is what we see here. It's holding up with these support levels. It's holding up, with the breakout of this wedge, that the selling pressure that exists there hopefully has been consumed or has been exhausted, I guess is the better framing of that. And so the folks that are looking to sell or exit positions right at that $35 level have kind of done so. And so now it won't be met with as much selling pressure, and it should have sort of some smooth sailing through that zone this time. So that's what I'd be looking for. If it rejects off there again, not only would I be really surprised, but I'd really put into question, sort of the strength of the stock and its ability to really get up toward that next level as I see it, which is a lot of run room, right? That's over 10% of run room to that 39.24 resistance level as I see it above there. Because essentially because of this erratic movements, there isn't a ton of really sticky support and resistance along here. And so if it can get supported at 35.04, that could be a great thing. If it can't, that could be a really unfortunate thing for the bulls anyway. Just to recap, what this is, we had looked at this cup. We were talking about it putting in this handle and then breaking out, and that's exactly what it did. So the other thing to think about here is sort of if it's just able to put in a little breath here, kind of. Now I know this isn't a cup, but kind of do a similar thing where it just makes a third attempt at getting past this 35 level, fails, puts in a little breath, and then is able to kind of accelerate its way through. That's what I would be looking for as the next possible pattern there. And of course, to the downside, if it needs it, the few things that I would look at would be, there's probably an extra support level here that we could toss in right about here, 27.47 if it needs it. There's just so many sort of large spaces between these. For such a lower price stock, it's kind of surprising to see all of these ranges that are like $3, $4, $5 in between the ranges, which is great if you're on an uptrend, but it can be very challenging if you hit a downtrend and you're dropping large percentages. But I think that swings both ways, and of course earnings is probably going to play a big part in that. But yeah, to the downside, if it needs it, I'd first look to this purple zone. If it can't hold that, 31.08. If it can't hold that, I would actually look for it to treat this as downtrend support, this wedge here. And then if it can't hold that, 27.47, and then of course 24.47 down there. So that's the downside. To the upside, I'm not really looking at anything other than this 35.04 break and then that test of 39.24. If something develops kind of in between that, we'll take a look at it. But to me, that's what it looks like at the moment. I want to do a quick look at some of the indicators here on the MACD side of things. Curling in a little bit, but it does head fake, right? And we've seen it head fake several times before, right? Bunch of head fakes here where it looks like it's going to throw a bearish crossover and it doesn't. So not quite sure if that's what will happen here, but extended a bit at the moment. It's not anything tremendously high, but it's extended over the baseline. On the RSI side of things, coming down off of overbought territory. So if it does come down and test this like mid-range, which is right about where this dip is here, I would look to see what it does. Is it able to hold strength there and then make another run up, or does it quickly fall through and lose that mid-range support at the 50 and kind of flip that to resistance? And if so, then it might be drawing down more toward that, yellow line or the 27.47 zone. I'm going to take a look at the EMAs here, looking fully bullish at the moment and potentially getting some additional support at that 12 EMA, right now situated at 31.27. But it'll be very, very close to that purple box probably by Monday open, and certainly also in line with that 31.08 support zone that we have charted. We'll look at the unbalanced volume here just to see if there's any odd divergences there. A little bit. So it looks like there's an uptick here on this. Oh, well, this day was actually slightly green, so no, there's no divergence there. Webull does this sometimes. It throws, maybe it's a weird setting that I have, but it has this candle as red. So to me, I look at that and I think, oh, that was a red day. But I hover over it and it tells me that it was a plus 0.4 green day. So yeah, I don't know if that's some weird setting I have or something, but on the Ichimoku cloud, price action is situated above the clouds right now, so that's obviously bullish. And we have the conversion line over the baseline at the moment, so still in a bullish formation there with decently solid support right around here, but that's quite far down at this point. But support level coming up if it can maintain its price and not fall through in the meantime. All right, so flipping over to the data, we'll check on old Ortex to see what's there. Bunch of return potential based on the consensus price targets on the analysts. Maybe there will be some additional analysts that come out and provide coverage on FUBO, and that could help boost the price, of course, if they're good, if they're good analyst ratings and price targets. And it's up over 36% over the last month, so really, really impressive run that it's been putting in. Selling pressure from the insiders, not phenomenal. Somebody did send me a note on this. Actually, shoot, I didn't pull it up, but there was like a scheduled sell from one of the insiders. I want to say the CEO, but I'm going off of memory there. But I will retweet it on my Twitter if you want to take a look at that. But this was them just pointing out that like this, wasn't sort of a sell that's like, oh, insiders are fleeing. This is a sell that was planned and scheduled, and it's a regulation that's put in place or structure that's put in place so that there's not the appearance of insider trading or sort of forced selling, but that it's a planned movement by an insider. On the short side of things, days to cover, kind of creeping up a little bit high, 3.63. So I'd keep an eye on that. That's going to make, this feel even heavier. This is already quite heavy. 15.96% of the free float being shorted at the moment. So that's, pretty hefty, and certainly putting some pressure on. But I mean, if FUBO can keep moving in this direction, see, I cover SoFi too much. If FUBO can keep moving in this direction, then that's just going to continue to put a ton of pressure on those shorts, and especially if they're holding on to these and they're relatively high and leveraged, then you could see some additional squeeze-ish potential coming up. But to be honest, in order to make that happen, in my opinion, this cost to borrow would need to come up significantly. I'd want to see that something like at least 40, if not closer to triple digits, to get it to a place where they're really feeling the pressure from the stock price moving up, from a high cost to borrow, and from being generally overly leveraged while both of those things are going against them. All right, folks. Well, those are my 2 cents. Like I said, flip over to my Twitter and have a look. That is in the description below if you want to see the notes on that, the insider selling that I had mentioned. And then also, if you enjoy these videos, I'm considering launching a Patreon, and I'm actually putting out a survey. It's like 3 to 5 minutes probably if you want to put in your 2 cents. That will be in the description below as well. I would really appreciate it. I'm going to sort of consolidate all the info and sort of extract some key takeaways, and then really consider what it would look like and sort of start to put a framework to what that Patreon would roll out as. And I'm taking those folks' feedback in order to inform that decision. And so once I get to 50 people, I'm going to condense and consolidate the information. We're just a few shy of that. I think we're probably around 44, 45 folks who've filled that out so far. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, if that would be something that would be interesting to you, don't feel that you have to if it would not be on your radar. Then just don't do it. But I would appreciate that as well if possible. All right, folks. So I hope that you have had a nice weekend and that the trading week ahead gets off to a really great start. And as always, I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.